Hello there. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're enjoying life lately. I hope you've been enjoying the last week. There's some things that actually stop us from enjoying our lives, and one of them is unforgiveness. And today we're going to talk a little bit about the power of forgiveness and the power of unforgiveness. There's massive power in both, one for the positive, one for the negative. We're going to look at Matthew 18 and just open up your heart today and see what the Lord may be saying. It's very, very, very freeing to release someone from something they're in debt to you about, something they need forgiveness for. And I'll never forget a preacher coming one time to preach at our church years ago and saying that he'd held on to something with someone for many years, and he kept going back to the Lord and saying, I'm finding it so hard to forgive them for that thing that they did. And eventually the Lord really corrected them and rebuked them and said, how many things do you think I've forgiven you of? And he started to think, and he said, it must be more than 1 million, Lord. And he said, so more than 1 million? You're right. And then some. But you're holding on to one thing of this person that they've done against you. And it broke him, and he forgave and immediately picked up the phone and immediately met with the person and released them. And something broke off of them, and doors started to open for this preacher, and things that were a blockage, things with this that was stopped up in their life. And I want to encourage you, we're in a series called The Good Life. This is part of The Good Life, is forgiving others as you wish to be forgiven yourself. So Jesus talks something amazing, because it's ridiculous how much forgiveness he gives us. He says something ridiculous about us forgiving others. Have a look at Matthew 18. It's out of today's reading in the Solid Lives reading plan. And we're going to start at verse 21. And it's, of course, the parable of the unforgiving servant. Then Peter, verse 21, I'm reading from the ESV. Then Peter came to him and said, Lord, how often shall my brother sin against me and I forgive him? Up to 7 times? And Jesus said to him, I do not say to you up to 7 times, but up to 70 times 7. Well, I'm not so good at math these days, but that's 490, isn't it? Verse 23. Therefore the kingdom of heaven is like a certain king who wanted to settle accounts with his servants. And when he began to settle accounts, one was brought to him who owed him 10,000 talents. But as he was not able to pay, his master commanded that he be sold with his wife and children and all that he had, and that payment be made. And the servant therefore fell down before him, saying, Master, have patience with me, and I'll pay you all. Then the master of that servant was moved with compassion, released him, and forgave him the debt. It sounds a lot like the Lord. But that servant went out and found one of his fellow servants who owed him 100 denarii. And he laid hands, much less than the amount he owed. He laid hands on him and took him by the throat, saying, Pay me what you owe. So his fellow servant fell down at his feet and begged him, saying, Have patience with me, and I'll pay you all. And he would not, but went and threw him into prison till he should pay the debt. So when his fellow servants saw what he'd done, they were very grieved, and came and told their master all that had been done. Then his master, after he called him, said, You wicked servant, I forgave you all that debt because you begged me. Should you not also have had compassion on your fellow servant, just as I had pity on you? And his master was angry and delivered him to the torturers until he should pay all that was due to him. And so my heavenly Father also will do to each of you, if each of you from his heart does not forgive his brother his trespasses. And going back to verse 22, I do not say to you up to 7 times, but up to 70 times 7. And so this is a sobering thought for us, is to think about our level of forgiveness compared to the Lord's level of forgiveness. And what he's really saying there is, if you're one of my disciples, you forgive like I do. Let's think about those that we haven't forgiven, those who are in debt to us, those we need to release, and let's forgive today. Let's honor the Lord and his sacrifice. When we received his sacrifice, we also received other commandments that go along with it, which is, now the way I act, go and act to others as well. And if we're holding on to things against other people, we're just like this person who's been forgiven much, but goes and grabs someone and says, you need to pay me back for little. And for us, it may seem huge, but compared to what the Lord's forgiven us, it's actually not. So be released today. Release that person so that you can be released. A wonderful encouragement from the Lord so we can continue to live the good life. God bless you very much. Thank you so much for listening today. Can't wait for the prayer walk this Saturday as we walk in our cities and pray for the families and the people and the marriages and those who are hurting and lonely and struggling. Let's remember to walk this Saturday, but let's remember to forgive those who need our forgiveness. God bless you. Bye-bye.